and welcome to Sci-Futures podcast, the podcast that imagines what it would be like to live in a fictional science fiction world. Lots of the word fictional. I have to try and rewrite that beginning. You get the picture. Anyway,
yeah.
Welcome to the show. My name is Wee Claire, your ever faithful host, and as always, I have my wonderful co-host. It is Rupert Booth. Yay! Hello, Rupert.
Hello.
Yay! Hello. It's very serious. Okay, hi, Rupert, hi. So, how's your week been, Rupert? What have you been up to this week, apart from writing? What have you been doing in between your writing? Oh, sorry, Rupert, can you repeat that again? You turned into a robot for a second.
In between writing, I sleep. What? Hello?
You turned into a robot halfway through there. The connection went bad.
What? Hello?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Hello? I can see and hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Right, so Rupert. Oh God, it's been like full of technical problems.
The day of technical, yeah.
It's like they come all at once, or like things just go wrong all at once. Rupert, so apart from the writing and the sleeping,
yes,
all good. You all right? Last week was a bit tense.
I'm all good. I'm all fine. Yeah. Last week was quite tense, but I'm fine. The world isn't. But I'm still surviving it.
Well, speaking of tense,
and how about you?
I'm fine. I'm hungry, but I'm fine. I'm just like, how do I feel right now?
Peanuts.
I'm hungry. I should have a snack. We forgot the Angel Delight. We need to start doing that again.
Angel Delight. Yeah, or me doing it for the first time since I failed originally.
Right, next week, yeah. Shall we do Angel Delight? I feel like next week's film, which shall be revealed at the end of the podcast, is an Angel Delight kind of film.
It is an Angel Delight kind of film.
I've got a banana Angel Delight as well for this film.
I might see if I can create a vodka Angel Delight for this film or something like that. We'll see.
It's so good. This film is like one of my favourite things. So, we're not talking about anything. We're not talking about silly films. We're actually talking about serious film. We're talking about a serious film.
Yes.
So, talking about tense, we are going to be talking about Silent Running. Silent Running is a film that I had not seen or really kind of heard much about. Really, I knew it existed. I just was like, oh, and I'd seen the poster before. Hadn't seen this until today, until this morning. So, Rupert, I'm going to explain what the film is about, and then I'll ask you exactly, where you were and all that kind of thing. So, for those who don't know, Silent Rupert. I was going to say Silent Rupert. Silent Rupert.
Fascinating.
Silent Rupert, a man trapped in space with his thoughts and a gerbil. Yes.
The cave, yeah, absolutely. That'll be the easiest part to learn ever. I just have to stand there saying, "Oh, that'll be fantastic." I'll do that. Yeah.
Maybe that's the name of the cave FMV, Silent Rupert.
No, it's my character now. I'm just Silent Rupert, which means you're going to have to do all the talking. I'm afraid you have all the lines to learn. Okay. I'm sorry, but playing a silent character, that'd be great. I'll be like Cesare in the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
That's fine. I'm happy to carry you. I will carry you, Rupert.
Thank you. Excellent.
Not that I've got any discernible acting skills at all. So anyway, Silent Running, not Silent Rupert. Rupert is rarely silent. It's silent running. Rarely. So, Silent Running. Okay, so it's a film released in the early 70s. Absolutely brilliant film. It directed by Douglas Trumbull. It was his directorial debut. He was more responsible for like photographic effects on 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, The Tree of Life. So that's really where his talents lay. And I actually watched a short documentary about Silent Running, squeezed it in this lunchtime, and he said he really learned his the skill of directing on this film. Like he really so he learned a lot while doing this film. So this film was set some point in the future on a ship called the Valley Forge, and the Valley Forge is a ship that has these biodomes attached to it. So we learn through the dialogue in the film, through Freeman Lowell, who is the main character in the film, that Earth is now a constant 75 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no longer any poverty, any disease. Everyone has a job, but there is no biological life in terms of plants and animals and things that live on Earth in a meaningful and in a real way anymore. So they have these biodomes, and Lowell is in charge of these biodomes. But these biodomes get ordered to be destroyed. Okay, and so Lowell, who doesn't want to destroy them, goes into a frenzy and tries to save them. In the process, kills his crewmates. Goes a little bit mad, and then ends up looking after the last remaining biodome on his own with 3 drones called Huey, Louie, and Dewey, which I love. So that's where we're at with the film, and we'll talk about the rest of the plot as we go on. This is a really interesting film. On the surface, the film is about the environment, okay? On the surface, if we're just taking it on the surface. But what did you get from the film when you first watched it? Were you a little boy? Like, how old were you when you first
I was a little boy. So this is a film that's been there all my life, basically. So I was trying to pin down my first memory. I don't know if it was at the cinema or on telly. I can't remember. It was about 1976, 77, so I'm 4, 5-ish. What I remember from that is the robots, largely. And sort of images of Bruce Dern, but not really understanding the story, not really understanding what was going on. Kind of being bored by what the humans were doing.
Yes.
And let's cut back to the robots. They're great.
Yes.
And it was before Star Wars as well. So these were the best robots I'd seen at that point. These were excellent robots.
Oh,
these
yeah.
were the future. Amazing to think of a time before Star Wars.
Yes.
Then saw it again. Would have seen it on telly. As a teenager, and obviously understood it much better, and just thought, I want to read. Apart from the nostalgia of thinking, wow, I remember that when I was a kid, Huey, Louie, and Dewey, and then exactly as you said. But getting it as a film and going, yeah, I like that, and kind of thinking that's kind of aligned to my way of thinking. Actually, I think in the way that my thinking is developing, my personality and character and opinions.
Yes.
And every time I've seen it, I've always really enjoyed it, really liked it, and sometimes even got more out of it than I had beforehand. Like today, I got a whole new reading on it that I'd never had before, which is usually the sign of a film of quality.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of the films that we've watched, some of which I've watched for the first time and some which I've seen many times before, the ones that I see, like especially Total Recall last week, I mean, I know that film inside out, didn't have to rewatch it, but a sign of a good sci-fi, regardless of how silly and colourful or how serious it is the fact that you can really, really like go for it in terms of themes.
You can unpeel the layers. It's like the onion thing, you can make, there are multiple readings for things.
Absolutely. And I think with this film, I think if I ever see this film again, which I absolutely want to, I'll probably peel away even more layers. I mean, as we go on in the film, like, and his crewmates are gone, he's looking after this last remaining biodome with these 3 robots, and he starts to talk to the robots like they're little kids, like they're his crewmates, and they're in the kind of childlike way. He plays poker with them, he's hanging out with them, and it's really interesting to see the break. He kind of breaks down. Lowell Freeman, or Freeman Lowell, apologies, is not a likable. I didn't find him to be a likable character.
Interesting. I've always found him very sympathetic.
No, I don't think he's likable. I think I believe in what he's doing. And I agree with what he's doing. I don't agree in the way he has done it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Because I think there's a breaking down there, and I think it's maybe this, because he's so tunnel visioned. There's a point where actually he says, so I'm going to read this out to you guys here. We're going to get into the themes a little bit now. So he's talking to his crewmates at the beginning, and he says, that's right. Every time we have the argument, you say the same thing to me. You give me the same 3 answers all the time. The same thing. Well, everybody has a job. That's always the last one. But you know what else there is no more of, my friend? There is no more beauty, and there is no more imagination, and there are no frontiers left to conquer. And you know why? Only one reason why. One reason why. The same attitude that you 3 guys are giving me right here in this room today. And that's it. Nobody cares. Now, I'll explain why I've picked out. I loved that whole scene. Because it really does it comes across as like, yeah, they don't give a shit. They're just happy and well fed,
Yeah.
And
they are complacent.
They're complacent and they're satiated, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is a different way to impart his message to make people listen. Instead, if he is very much a protagonist that this is a film that shouts down its themes. It's like this is the theme. It's not subtle actually at all. It's going, this is what's going to happen.
It's not.
But what do you make of that? Like, what do you make of the character?
Well, you've got to look. To my mind, you've got to look at the placement of it in history. So it's 1972. It's the dog end of the 60s, basically. Flower power, hippies, all that. He is absolutely that kind of archetype. He is the flower child. Yes. I think they even call him flower face or something at one point. When you first see him, he's got his big caftan on, his big robe. He's quite druid looking. It's interesting. The thing that occurred to me this time, and I mentioned to you earlier, was the last time I watched this film, the same discussions about gender identity and so on were not going on 5-6 years ago, maybe it was. And so I watched it this time, in a changed world as far as that's concerned. There's a lot of it certainly on Twitter, which I view with interest. I sit and learn, and go, what are the opinions? What are the facts here? What are the, all the things? And so this time I was watching it in terms of early on when he's nurturing the garden, the forest, in his caftan and bit and so on. I thought to myself, this is an interesting depiction of masculinity. Because you've got him doing that, and then you've got the lads in their dune buggies being arseholes, being that depiction of masculinity. And that would normally, you'd think, put him in a kind of slightly emasculated seeming role by comparison, the peaceable guy. But he isn't. He's not remotely emasculated.
No, not at all.
He's just peaceful.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting. And he's kind of, and then when the moment comes, when he finally goes, no, I can't allow this to happen. I can't allow the last plants from Earth to be destroyed. Then he rises up, and he's dealt with the three of them in the space of about 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, the deaths happen very quickly.
This is not a weak guy at all. He is peaceable, but not weak.
No.
And I thought that was an interesting reading on the whole hippie thing, on the flower child thing, who kind of, talk a good fight, but then smoke a joint and peace out and don't do anything. He fucking does something. And he does it lethal force. And it seemed to me that he was like a masculine version of the embodiment of Gaia. The Earth Mother goddess, basically. Very, very primal, very early goddess. Always female. Here, you kind of got Gaia as male. No, I'm the one who stands up and protects nature and the forest and stuff. And that was the reading that I got today that fascinated me. And I thought it was an interesting theme to maybe talk about.
I'll tell you why. I read a few things online and that confirmed why I wasn't a big fan of the character. Although, no, that I'm not a big fan. No, that's wrong. I actually really I'm behind him. If I was on the ship with him, I'd be like, yeah, man, yeah, let's do this.
Well, it's like you said, you found him, you agreed with his ideals, but you found him unlikable.
Yes, and I think the whole thing is, and I'll probably get onto this. I'll get onto it now. Actually, it's the balance, I guess. There's this whole idea of the fact that we need to return to nature before we lose our humanity, right? Which I completely agree with. However, if we think about where we are in 2020 and we think about where they were in 1972 or whenever this was released in the early 70s, we're already too far gone. We have technology and technologies in our lives, and we are going forward with it. In fact, it's sped up exponentially in the last 20 to 25 years, 100%. Even 30 years, it's really sped up in terms of the digital age. So totally. I don't think we can go back to this flower child ideal that we see in the film. I don't think we can go completely back there, but I think there is a balance to be had between modern society and nature. And Freeman Lowell becomes a murderer, essentially, through his convictions, through his absolute sheer force of will to protect nature. And we see at the end when he's going to get found out, so he ends up jettisoning the last remaining dome, and then he blows himself up, and the dome is looked after by one of the last remaining drones, which I think is a very sad scene. But he knows, he's like, I didn't do this right. I'm going to have to
hasn't gone right for me, or hasn't worked out for me, whatever he says. It's
not, we can't go back. And so I think that the film, for me, when I was reading about that, when I was considering it, I was thinking, there has to be a balance here. Even now with the pandemic, I'm thinking, right, the Mother Nature got a bit of a break because everybody was in lockdown. It's definitely taught us, it's showing us, look, we can heal, it can heal again, but we still need to live. So how do we find a way to live with nature and not crush it? And you can't go killing people, and you can't go doing that. And so I also kind of, for me, I was like, well, he's very human. In the end up, it's the robot looking after nature. He blew himself up because human beings are very destructive. Very destructive. But do you think there's a balance to be had?
Oh, well, there has to be balance in everything. I mean, the way that we live in harmony with nature and basically continue our existence at the moment, as far as I can see, is we stop having so many fucking babies. That's actually what we need to do first.
Yeah.
Just cut the numbers down, cut the exponential growth down. But then, as you said, I don't see any reason why you couldn't live that kind of lifestyle. Have a vegetable patch in your garden, you grow your own food and so on. Then you go in and get on your iPhone or whatever, and you talk. Yeah. I think they can absolutely mesh together. And actually, as technology improves, as particularly communication improves, we can source things more effectively.
Yes, absolutely. I can learn how to do things. So, for example, I don't know how to be a gardener. I can go online and I can go, well, I'm going to learn how to garden and plant.
Absolutely. Or make friends, go on a gardening group on Facebook, or make friends with a gardener and talk over Skype or whatever, there's all those options that are available. Basically, you can get the information much more easily and get quick information. My plants are dying. What am I doing wrong? You can get an answer from someone within hours.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. And you can also showcase what you've done and go, hey, look how beautiful this is. And
inspire people.
Exactly. Like, you just have to. I think that they can use it now. I think the world that we're being shown in Silent Running is obviously come off the back of, the Great Space Race, hippie times, that kind of thing. And also at that point, in 1970, I wanted to make this point, I found this out today. So 1970, the early 70s, the environment started to become a topic of interest. And we're talking about 40 plus years ago now. We had the first Environmental Rights Day was in 1970, and the first Earth Day was in 1970. So this is coming off the back of that as well. And looking at nature as opposed to and how to preserve nature as opposed to like destruction and wars kind of thing, which I thought was quite kind of like interesting. And at that point in 1970, you had decades of us completely ruining the environment, so it's people starting to be aware. Starting.
That's it. After the Second World War, when the world's taking a breather and going, oh shit, let's not do that again. Obviously, the Industrial Revolution has accelerated massively because of the two world wars, to the point where now I've got the atom bomb and all that sort of thing. But it takes at least the 50s and the 60s until the early 70s when somebody start going, hang on, these chimneys belching out fumes, is that a good idea perhaps? Is that because they do that all the time?
Yeah,
and isn't that going to build up?
I mean, the whole thing, like when they say, well, the Earth is 75 degrees Fahrenheit, just constant. So we assume that's global warming. We assume global warming.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I just say thank you very much to Limmy for subscribing again? Hello, Limmy. Rupert,
hello.
Limmy's in the chat. Hello, Limmy. We're talking about Silent Futures. Can we please have a shout out? Oh, actually, I'll do.
We'll talk silent running.
Oh, sorry, Silent Futures. Jesus Christ. I've had Silent Rupert. Silent Futures.
Basically, you want everything to be silent. Are you turning into a brain from the planet Arus?
Oh my God!
The most dense and rewarding text that we've watched so far, obviously.
Silent Rupert. That's the film I want to see.
I know. I realise this.
Rupert, what would your message be? Would it be a message of peace and love, the environment, angel delight, the cave FMV? FMV. Silent Rupert. What would it be about?
It would be mysterious for a start, because I wouldn't be saying anything much. I'd be expressing it all with eyebrows, maybe the occasional hand gesture, but I don't want to go too over the top with it. I think Silent Rupert just stands there, maybe sits occasionally.
I mean, honestly, I think Silent Rupert is definitely your cave FMV. That's your cave FMV character sorted. I will be really on the other side of the cave. I'm telling you,
Rupert.
I can't wait till lockdown's over and we can actually write the cave FMV.
I know. Well, we can start writing it beforehand.
We can.
Creative and inventive.
We can. We need to. When you finish your lockdown FMV, because Rupert's like me. Rupert likes to have lots of projects. So clearly we don't actually like having free time and we don't like to sleep.
No,
so
clearly not.
Clearly
No.
we don't. But yeah, Cave FB. Anyway, sorry. Let's go back to silent
Let's
running.
get back to silent running.
Not silent
running,
Rupert.
yes.
Let's leave silent Rupert in the cave, right?
Where he's quiet, he's happy there. He's, it's all good.
He's with his gerbil in the box.
He's with his gerbil.
He's with his gerbil in the box.
It's not dodgy.
It's not.
I promise you. Silent Rupert with his gerbil in the cave. It's not remotely dodgy. It's fine.
That's not a euphemism. That is not a euphemism.
No.
Anyway, so I love the idea of this whole kind of like big business versus capitalism. Capitalism versus like the environment. And we see that now. And I watched a little bit of Mark Kermode talking about silent running, and he described silent running as the yin to 2001's yang. He said that silent running is about people, and 2001 is the more faceless end of space. So that I wanted to ask a question for the chat, and also a question for you as well, Rupert. Is this film, and I know what my answer is this film better than 2001 A Space Odyssey? Because I'm going to go in a rant in a second, but off you go. You go first.
In many ways it is, yes. I think it's certainly a better told story. 2001's a magnificent piece of movie making. But every time I watch it, I kind of twiddle my thumbs a bit. Silent Running's a small character story, really. If you're looking at it that way, there are only 4 people in it, for human cast. There's a voice, and then there's a couple of robots that don't even speak. And it's very much a focus on Lowell, and as you say, his disintegration into madness, and how far, an exploration of how far one guy will go for what he believes in.
2001. I watched 2001 years later in my 20s, right? So I watched it in my 20s. I was very tired in my 20s, shall we say. Spent a lot of time being tired. And I watched it with my tired husband. We were watching it together. And at the opening scenes of it's beautiful. I went to
it's gorgeous.
I went to the Kubrick exhibition in London, and I thought I was fascinated. I loved it, and I loved the design, and I love everything. But I was just like, I'm sorry, but it's a pile of wank at the end of the day. Sorry, like that. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I think it's a really good film, right? It's well made. I love Kubrick. I'm a really big fan. But it's the same with David Lynch. I like some of David Lynch's films. I think he's very good, but some of it is wank. And I can't stand when films go into that territory and it's like, oh, I need to scratch my chin and talk a little bit about, all of the symbolism, blah, blah. And that's why I like it with Silent Running, because they're what they're saying, and there's a lot of layers there, but they're not, it's not wank. For lack of a better word, this is why I'm not a film critic. So
it's Silent Running is a good story, well told. It's a straightforward, simple story. It's a one man against the system story, against the little guy against the big corporate machine. It's kind of, I think it's a precursor to Alien in terms of the look of it and the feel of it. I can imagine that 50, 60 years later, you've got the Nostromo going on in the same bunch of companies.
Yeah, no, and again, we have the kind of like those same sort of themes with the Nostromo and the company and capitalism.
Absolutely.
And, like in that, I love that.
And people in the organic, even nature in this case, but in the case of Alien, people being very much secondary to the requirement. If they have to be slaughtered, it isn't a problem.
Yes.
If we have to destroy all the forests because presumably we can't, they want to recall their fleet for actually, hauling ass. I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe there's a planet somewhere that's just full of ass that needs hauling. It's like, for God's sake, get rid of these asses. Take them to other arseless planets where they need the buttocks.
The brain from planet Ars.
Arsrus. Well, it'd be the arse from planet. If you've got brains from planet Arus, are there other body parts? I don't know. The hand from planet Arus.
So maybe the other body parts are at war with each other. So maybe the hands
there might be. It might be they've got an arse continent, and the arse continent doesn't talk to the brain continent, and the hand continent.
I mean, the arse
continent. So they're winning.
I mean, the arse continent often doesn't talk to the brain continent or whatever.
This is true. There are many parts of the body that don't really refer to the brain continent.
Especially as those parts of the body get older. Just saying. As the continents get older.
I'll let you know when it happens.
Yeah.
But yes. Sorry. Anyway, so they want to recall their ships and stop, having trees and flowers all preserved. Presumably it isn't cost effective. which is an interesting, in terms of the sci-future. What is this world? How do they grow vegetables, or is it all? Say all the foods it's all just
Yeah,
this
there's not
kind of
much
cardboard
explanation.
stuff.
Before going to
Yeah.
that, Defender in the chat here says, Defender says, not watched Silent Running since I was a kid, but I liked it. Not managed to watch all of 2001 without falling asleep.
Yeah, you see another one. There's a lot of it. Yeah, when Claire and I were doing the list earlier on today of the upcoming things, at the end we sort of looked at each other and went, we haven't got 2001. Neither of us have put that as one, and I've put some terrible tripe up there. I mean,
Oh yeah,
but it's entertaining tripe.
Exactly. Mine next week, Rupert, will be very entertaining.
Yes, very entertaining and not terrible tripe at all.
No, it is very, and I bet you people in the chat will love it. I know that they will. I know that they will.
They'll love it. Of course.
I mean, we watched The Brain from Planet Arris.
Because you'll threaten them if they don't.
Cancelled. The thing is,
I've seen you ruling with a rod of iron.
Iron Fist and a Velvet Glove.
That's the one. Iron Fist and a Velvet Glove, yes.
Iron Fist and a Velvet Glove, my friends. That's your Scottish mum right here. So let's talk about. Let's move on from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and let's talk about the future. So we essentially, I think we're in this future. I think the planet's getting warmer. Apart from poverty and disease still being rife amongst the planet. There really isn't much. There hasn't been much care for the environment. I'd say the younger generation are much more mindful, or this generation anyway, are coming in. Coming to the forefront.
Funnily enough, I'd say that started with us lot, purely because I've been mindful about that all my life. I mean, all my life, and therefore it must have been things on television and stuff like that I saw in the 70s. Life on Earth, David Attenborough things, some BBC Two documentaries. I've always been aware of kind of like, hang on, this isn't going right. This is a bit of a worry, which has only grown over time. I think it's like you said before. It was in the 70s. It was in 1970 where they had the first Earth Day, where the first things were really being talked about. So I'm sort of just a couple of years after that. So it was filtering through. Basically, I'm saying Generation X are the best ones. I'm sorry.
That's what my husband says all the time. He's like, I'm Gen. I'm like, you're Gen X by like 1 year, Paul. Like 1 year.
It counts. We accept him.
And he'll say things like, I was wearing flares in the womb. That's what I was doing. I was wearing flares. I'm like,
I was wearing flares out of the womb.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
I win the flare war.
But Paul's like 1979, man. That counts. I'm like, right.
It does count. No. That's spot on. That's fine. That's fine.
I always say this as a joke, right? But I was reading a thing about Zennials, right? And whether
what the hell's a Zennial?
A Zennial is Gen X mixed with Millennial because they are so on the cusp of that changeover, right? Now let me explain to you whether it's a thing or not.
Hang on, if I got mixed with a Millennial, would that mean I suddenly got like 20 years younger? How does this work?
No, Rupert's too old for that. Sorry, you guys. Sorry, you guys. So to be a Zennial, you need to be born in the early 80s, right? So essentially what it is, and because growing up, so there's a lot that I completely get Gen X. Like I get it. And I grew up with a lot of Gen X culture. I like Gen X stuff. I would consider myself very Gen X. But then all these other names started coming, like all these like millennial, and started reading about it. There's the millennials, and I also kind of
bunch of young whippersnappers, all of you.
I agree with the millennial side as well. So I read this thing called it's like Zennials, and so Zennials have they're like the kind of lost ones that are like, okay, we got a bit of that, we don't really belong to either, but there's a bit of both kind of thing. And I talked to quite a few friends who are the same age as me, and they're like, yeah, completely feel the same. It's like completely understand the musical references, films, but then there's also the other side that they understand as well. So because like Paul and I, apart from literally horror references, is the only thing I don't get with Paul, because he's very into horror. Like we like the same music, the same films, we've got exactly the same. So I think there's something to be said for that. And I tell you this, Rupert, I tell you why I'm saying this, because I'm holding on to that shit. I'm holding on to it.
Yeah.
Holding on to it.
Yeah. Well, I always have done. And I see no reason to stop doing so.
Ellie64 here says, Claire, You totally have some millennial vibes, but I think you're a Zennial. Thank you, Ellie64. Thank you very much. See, Ellie64 gets it. Moon Foundation says, I'm Gen X. Flares from day dot, says Moon Foundation.
Nice. Have you got pictures of yourself on Polaroids wearing flares? I mean, that's spot on what you've got to have, isn't it?
Oh, God. Like, I think it's like...
Instamatics. Polaroid Instamatic cameras.
And the Gen X, like, I read a lot about this because I love this psychology of sociology and all about, and marketing, because you can mix it in with marketing and stuff. So I find it fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Gen X is such an interesting generation. Gen X are they're the smallest living generation that we have right now. Apart, like, baby boomers and millennials are the largest living. What was that,
we've
sorry?
Got the biggest shoes. Yeah, we've got the biggest shoes. And we've got flares.
The thing is, like, I've honestly,
we've got big trousers. Don't mess with our big trousers.
That's just Rupert. Rupert's got big trousers. In fact, Rupert has the biggest trousers of all of the Gen Xers. Very big trousers. Very big
they're
pockets.
They're trousers. I live in them sometimes. I mean, I just go inside them. It's like a cave, of cloth.
Click says, I'm technically a boomer, but more like X. My dad was in World War II and born in 62. Click, I've got friends who would be considered boomers, but they very much have the ideology of other generations, or not at all. So my friend is in his mid-60s and he cannot understand what's going on right now. He's like, what? He used to be a punk in the 80s. So it's not, I hate the way that we also divide ourselves up into generations like that, because actually...
Absolutely, yeah. And what is the point of it? Yeah, people are people, and you connect with those that you connect with, whatever the hell age they are.
I mean, Rupert, when you were growing up, because I know what my answer is. When I was growing up, right, I didn't know what the heck a boomer was or whatever. I didn't know, right? I was just like, you're older and I'm younger and this is it. So why is it now? Why do you think now we've got such a... I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, I'm a that.
Because we're all trying to identify ourselves as something on the internet nowadays, and beforehand we all just did it to ourselves, or with friends. So I'm into this, I'm into that, whatever, blah blah blah, whatever the hell, as you discover and form yourself. But now that's being done online as well. So I think it's exactly the same sort of amount of it. It's just out there more and discussed more. And that's probably really useful for people. That would probably be really useful for me when I was younger.
I guess there's like a kind of comfort in tribes in a way, I suppose.
Yeah, we are a tribal species. Where we create these units, political affiliations, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, whether that'll ever change, I don't know. Whether it should, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that kind of tribalism, provided it's not othering others by doing so.
Provided it doesn't wear a red hat that says "Make America Great Again," then I'm just like fine with tribes. Look, I don't mind tribalism as long as you're not hurting anyone. I do feel like you can be.
That's like we've said before. That's the ideology all over, isn't it? Do what you want as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're not hurting anyone, it really doesn't matter to me. And I mean, I've always kind of said, I hate tribes, and I've always said I hate cliques, I hate groups, I hate tribes. I don't like. I'm not very good when I always kind of like separate myself away from the herd a little bit because I get a bit like. But having said that, I come on a thing like Twitch, and I've got a really lovely big community.
You have a squad. You've built your own tribe.
Yeah, so you're like, well, this is nice. This makes me happy and comfortable. And so there's something to that. Why are we always trying to create some kind of tribe? It's really
because we're a species that thrives on connection. We live we are organic. We live in a very interconnected world. If we opened our eyes to it, as Freeman Lovell preached, we all crave companionship in various ways. I think that's just part of being a primate. Maybe it's just part of being alive.
Yeah, perhaps. I was having this conversation about extroverts and introverts on stream. It was like so we're getting massively off topic. Sorry, this happens. As soon as I see
Rupert, mentioned Freeman Lovell. I tried.
He did try, but I'm going off topic again because I love talking about it. Every time it's just something that Rupert does to me. He appears on screen and I'm like, let's just have a big old chat. I love it. I'm actually loving it.
You know, I looked earlier on after we talked earlier on, and it was about an hour or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've talked for quite a while because I was like, I can't stay for long, Rupert, and I was like, shit, I was running late for the stream.
And that happens all the time. I've noticed. Yeah.
And when we met up in person, because we'd never met in person before, I was just like, hey, I'll buy you lunch. Thank you for doing the podcast. And then we met up, and I was like,
yeah.
We just chatted for ages and ages, and even about astrology and everything. And I was like, well, this guy's not rolling his eyes. He's not giving me side eye or anything. He's not. This guy's just chatting.
I was thinking very much the same thing as Gary. She's nodding and she hasn't run away yet.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Right,
it's like
maybe she agrees.
It's like acceptance.
Rather than just doing that thing of nodding with the eyes darting about, going, I'll just humour it until I can get away from it.
That's more my vibe. When there's like, I guess I don't want to call them normies, but you know, when kind of like people are like talking about like, oh my god, so the kids did. I've got this like 5-year-old and he did so. I'm like, I'm kind of like spacing out, going, I don't care. I really don't care.
I really don't care.
I'm
busy going through the Stargate from 2001. I'm actually watching 2001 in my head because it's more interesting.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, and there's nothing wrong with that chat, and I'll have that chat.
No, there's not, apart from it being tedious.
But I'm a bit like, whoa. But yeah, like anyway, we were talking about tribes and things like that, and
yes.
I do think, like, I guess I've always considered myself a bit of an introvert, but then I was talking about people who have introverted qualities but still feel that they belong to tribes, and it's not. I think there's not a lot, and we said this on stream last week or so. I don't think there's enough out there that's written about introverts, like the power of introverts, being introverted, what it means. A lot of introverts I know are very sociable. They just choose when to be sociable, and
yes, absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of extroverts, and there's a lot of extroverts that have a spectrum of extroversion, you know. So I've got a really good friend. She's a therapist up in Glasgow, and she sent me a voice message, and she was going, Claire, I'm really struggling because I'm such an extrovert. I can't handle this lockdown, and because she was talking about it through her lens of extroversion, whereas I'm like, I'm happy, like this is fine, like I'm okay. I don't want anyone to be ill. I'm happy here, like so.
Yeah.
So she was. I found that very interesting. She was like, she was craving to be next to people, you know. I just think introverts need that less. What's your take on introversion?
Well, I'm sort of stuck right in the middle. Presumably that means I have balance in some area in my life for once. Wow. As in, obviously writing's quite an introverted thing to do. It's you sitting there, unless you're co-writing on your own with a key, with a computer all day until your forehead bleeds flesh and brain. But my God, I am craving my friends. I am craving the going out and meeting up with people and sitting in a pub and drinking and just, and yes, I can talk to them over the phone. I can talk to all of them, but I can't sit and be with them. And I really want that.
Squirrel in the chat is called you an ambivert. I like that.
An ambivert. That's fantastic, and I love it. An ambivert.
And I think there's a lot of people that feel like ambiverts as well, that can go between the two. It's not.
It's just balance, isn't it? Sometimes you want to be on your own. Sometimes you want to be not on your own.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, actually, it's taken me only till maybe the weekend where I was like, I'd like to see my good friends for a glass of wine. Yeah. That was the one point in this whole time. But apart from that, I'm like, I'm okay. Like I'm okay.
I've been bashing off walls sometimes. I've been bouncing back and forth and going out on long walks and runs and things, which is just kind of that frustration. I have to sort of just burn it off.
Yeah, no.
Kind of like, no, must see people. Reassure myself, reality, real.
Reality, real. Cave, not real.
Illusion. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Right, back to the film. Sorry, guys, that was a massive. We took 5 side steps, so we're gonna have to take like 5 back again.
Right.
So
let's just jump them. I mean, we've got time traveling things here. We can do what we like.
Let's get back to the sci-future part of this podcast. Are we going the way of silent running? The acceptance of global warming, acceptance of capitalism, but there's no poverty, but there's no disease, but we at the expense of the environment and the expense of nature. What do you think? Do you think we're going that way?
100%.
Really? You don't even think this is going to change people's opinions? What's happening now?
As of today, As of right, this but it hasn't changed anything. In terms of the felling of the Amazon, that's speeded up. While no one's looking, all the things that are going on while we're all diverted on this. And I'm not being conspiracist. I'm not saying that COVID was put out there. I don't think as a smokescreen, but I'm quite sure that certain individuals and organisations are taking advantage of it. I'm absolutely sure of that. It'd be ridiculous for them not working.
Oh yeah.
So as of today, I think we're stampeding towards the world of silent running, unless we do something about it properly. We need to. There's an awful lot of very good talk. I think in terms of the environment, we need to go out and pull a few statues down.
Oh my God! Like I'm 100% up for pulling.
I think direct action. I think. Come on, we can't piss about. We can't dawdle here.
No, if you're sad about a statue of a dickhead being torn down, then quite frankly, you gotta really prioritize.
But look at the effect it's all had. Look at the events of the last 2 weeks with regard to all that. Look at the outcry and the bonding together of people, irrespective of colour.
Yes.
And kind of going, no, we're gonna pull some fucking statues down now. We're pissed off.
Yeah,
and now we're going to show it.
And that's a good. Honestly, although, oh my God, I think what's going to happen in 4 weeks' time? Like it's so fast. Everything's happening so fast.
This year I've given up trying to make plans. I don't know what happens next week. I'm just day by day basis.
You know what? The world may be on fire, Rupert, but we have this show. We have a
schedule up till Christmas, so I know that's happening.
We know exactly what we're talking about, even on the 23rd of December.
We don't know from where it'll be. It might be from a castle somewhere where a few of us survivors have bounded together and are broadcasting to the other few survivors who obviously will need to be talking about science fiction films rather than how to get food. But we're going to tell them about science fiction films anyway because culture's important.
We might be broadcasting from a biodome.
You know what? A biodome. About this film, I've always wanted the ending to change, so he goes off in the biodome and gets to spend the rest of his life tending the forest in the biodome. Why didn't he do that? They wouldn't know he was there. You said you rigged the ship to blow up, and maybe you have to leave one of the robots there to do it, and then you fuck off to the biodome, which they said jettison, and you spend your life with the other robot and your flowers. And I bet he's got a massive cannabis bush, let's face it.
I know, kind of like Michael Caine. Right? Michael Caine in Children of Men. He was very tired.
Exactly like
he was a very tired man.
Come on, he's got a caftan going on. He's gathering his fruits and veg. He's got his little bush around the side that he planted himself.
He started talking to the drones like they're his children. So in
all fairness, if there was no one else there, I'd talk to the drones like they were my children.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd choose better names than Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but I'd maybe name them after Arnie films, like Arnie characters. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe name them after Arnie characters. Anyway, back to
Conan and Terminator. We have to go and solve this thing.
Imagine hey, Conan, over here. Hey, you missed a spot. Water the fucking plants, Conan. Come on.
Yeah. Particularly that important one around the corner there that no one can see. I just wish he'd gone off and kind of had his paradise.
So where are you in this future then? Imagine this is a future that's happening. What are you doing in this future that's a very hot climate?
I'm in the biodome. I'm doing what he should have done. I'm floating off in the biodome because these things were designed to reseed the planet, right?
Yes.
So presumably, and they've got rocket boosters and stuff underneath them. So I'm guessing they can make powered landings. So you fly off and you find your nearest Earth-like planet and you make a powered landing and you Earthify it.
But you're saying about missing your friends and stuff, though.
Yes.
Like, would you want to take a friend with you? Would you be happy?
Oh God, yes.
So.
I'd much rather. Oh yeah, obviously if I can have.
But let me ask this:
a person.
Freeman Lowell kills his crewmates. Would you kill your crewmates? So imagine I'm one of the crewmates, and we got on quite well, and I'm just chilling out, but I'm like,
we survived all that cave business, we didn't fall out over that. It was all good.
But I'm like, hey mate, we got to do what the company or whatever the government say we have to do. Mm-hmm. We need to jettison these. Do you kill me, Rupert? Do you kill me?
No, I knock you out, tie you up, put you somewhere, make sure where you can't interfere with what I'm doing, make sure you've got food and water, keep looking in on you and all that sort of thing. And when I've done what I need to do, release you and go, look, Biodome. I've got a really nice meat plant.
Wait, so you would try and turn me? You'd be like, look, this is a really great way to live.
No, I wouldn't try and turn you. I'd make sure you couldn't stop me, but I wouldn't kill you. And then afterwards, I would release you and go, okay, look, you've now got a choice. You can head back to Earth on, a ship's that's blown up, so that's not great. And you can't turn the biodome around and go back to Earth, because then I'll have to kill you.
I accept that. I would turn my biodome into the crystal maze. Yes.
Well, there you go, you see. You've already got a plan for it, so that works. So I wouldn't even have to knock you out and put you in a cupboard for a bit.
One giant crystal maze, just a big jungle-type zone. It'd be great. You have to battle the robots at one point, and we have to, I don't know how we're going to make the crystals. They can maybe...
We don't need... Well, we'll have to fashion them out of bits of glass. And we've got light bulbs. You know those big light bulbs that are
the light bulbs can be the crystals.
You get a light bulb.
And we can use toilet tissue as the kind of the money thing, the kind of the golden things at the end.
And I'm guessing I'm going to end up being Richard O'Brien.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm
okay.
Yeah, so
doesn't that mean wearing leopard skin tights, basically? I seem to call them wearing leopard skin tights.
Oh, you want to put yourself in that role? Go for it, mate. I think you would.
Well, I don't want to, but of the two of us, I am the baldest.
I actually think I would love to see you host the Crystal Maze. I think it would be amazing.
You know what? There was a corporate gig I nearly got as an actor about 10 years ago where the whole theme was going to be Crystal Maze, and they said, we want you to come and be the Richard O'Brien type. Can you do it? We'll pay you huge amounts of money for.
Why didn't you do it?
It was like a day's. They didn't go with it in the end. They didn't go with doing the Crystal Maze.
I'm telling you,
that was a shame. That was kind of like rent for several months type money, you know.
I'm so sad you didn't do that just because I want to see the pictures. I would love to see the pictures and all of the animal prints, all of it, just really.
Yeah, all of the animal prints. I'm not sure that would suit me, you know. I'm not sure I could really pull off cheetah skin or leopard.
No, I reckon you could do it. And the little scarf thing.
I think I'd look like a tit. But hey, you know, we'll see how the FMV world goes. If I eventually need to, this doesn't mean you have to go away and write an FMV that requires me to dress like that. That's not what I'm saying here, by the way. Just to forestall side eye.
I'm telling you, side
eye.
Please, if we do the cave FMV, we need to see a hint of some kind of leopard print. A legging, a sock. A glove.
Very well, on the condition that I also get to choose something that you wear. So entirely at your own risk.
I'll think about this, and we'll come back to this on next week's show.
this could be mutually assured fashion disaster, you realise.
Right. Okay, we're at the end of the podcast, actually. I think we've decided, yes, that Rupert, I mean, it's very simple. Rupert was just like, I would live in a biodome. There you go. That's how
I live in a biodome. Yeah. What would you? Well, you would as well. You took the crystal
I think
maze,
I would
so
as
we
well.
both live in a biodome.
I would gamify the domes. I would bring them.
But you wouldn't kill anyone either, would you?
No, I wouldn't kill anyone. I would try and make them change. I would try and make them change their ways. That's what I would try.
But they wouldn't listen to you. They wouldn't listen to you. They'd just lock you up in a cupboard and do what they were going to do anyway, and the forest would be destroyed.
I would hope
because their horizons are not expanded like Freeman says.
I would hope there'd be some kind of Stockholm syndrome going on if we just lock them away for long enough in their own biodome and just got the drones to treat them really nicely. That eventually they'd be like, thank you very much. We will take our own dome and live peacefully in your crystal maze dome.
So we put them in one dome and put ourselves in another dome and fire off both the domes so that they're still at least alive.
Yeah, they're alive. I wouldn't kill anyone. I don't have it in my body. And I've got an evil bone in my body like that. I would never kill anyone. No.
Oh, okay,
no.
That works.
Zero killing. Put them in the biodome and make them love it. Get the drones to treat them really well and be all sweet with them, patting them and pat me in the head and I'll treat you. So try, dada.
Yeah, well done. It's all right. You're in a biodome now. This is for the rest of your life. This is our eternity. We're all gonna die in here together.
I was almost bubbling up when I watched the end scene with the little robot with the little beaten up can.
I always am, and I have been ever since 1970. I was in floods in 1976.
That's
you can imagine
sad.
as a 4-year-old going,
it's living in its own, and the fact they gave it a watering can that's a children's watering can, I was like, oh no, oh my god, seriously.
I thought they did very well with the robots to not go too much towards the kind of cutesy angle. I mean, there's a few times they kind of go
No. They don't look human.
They don't chirrup. They're actually quite mechanical.
Yeah,
and very, very brilliantly made. I thought, and played by amputees.
I would 100% make friends with the robots. In fact, I want all of the robots to be my friends, so they stay in my dome longer than your domes. So just
hang on, I'm in your dome as well.
Oh no, there's a few domes. We're all attached to the ship.
I see. Yeah. In your version, I'm just chucked off there on my own.
Yes. So on my version, I kind of befriend the drones, and I'm like, look, guys, better deal here, right? Better rights for drones in this dome. Loads of drone rights. I'm a big advocate of drone rights.
You'd be a drone rights.
I'm all up for drone rights. Stay in my dome. Forget Rupert's dome. He's just getting tired. He's just tired in his dome. And there's nothing going on in his dome. My dome's a good dome. I'll be your mum. You need a mum. I will lead the way. So I would take the drones. So you've got no drones, so you're gonna have to water those plants yourself.
Well, what if I just deactivated the drones, picked them up, put them in one of those buggies, took them to my dome, and then turned them on again after they've both been fired?
No, locking you out.
Can we not look? By the end of the film, there's 2 drones. That's a drone each. Don't be greedy.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. A drone each is fair, but secretly your drone wishes they were spending time in my dome. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And then the drone betray me, and I'll fire it into space.
And with that is now the end.
And with that
of the show. Oh my God, Rupert! Another amazing one, Rupert. I
hope everyone enjoyed that pile of nonsense.
Oh my God! Hey, we talked about really serious stuff at the beginning, and then it descended into the drone rights.
Well, we always do at the beginning. It always starts off with the intent of being serious, and then just go.
Yeah, it's like boo. So,
or depending on your point of view.
Or just.
Could be
just a wet fart. I mean, it's like whatever sound you think this podcast.
That's what I'm saying to my drones. Then I'm going, look, you're gonna get wet farts if you go in her drone. Seriously, my dome's better. No. And I've got the bush there. Drones need a mum. Find a way of making it work.
No, they need a mum. Cactus Knacks in the chat is saying, do we even need a topic anymore? I don't even think we do. Don't even think we do. I don't think we need a topic. And we've got films lined up. We've got a framework. Yeah. Fucking hell.
We have to start from somewhere, don't we?
We've got to start from somewhere. We've got to wait till you get to Christmas time, my friends. It's going to be ridiculous.
Christmas is worth waiting for. It is worth waiting
It's going to be worth it. Oh, in fact, next week's worth waiting for. Guys.
Yes.
Well, I can reveal the film next week. So the film we are going to be looking at next week, it's one of my favourites. Oh, yes. It's that 90s classic Time Cop. Yeah. I got my way.
I'm not sure I've seen it since the 90s either. I shall avail myself of Time Cop.
I friggin' love Time Cop. I mean,
I shall dip into its fragrant delights.
You better bring some Angel Delight to this show next week.
I may have to.
Let's do some Angel Delight.
And like I say, laced with hard liquor.
Hey, I'm all for it. I will drink, eat, whatever, but we're watching Time Cop, and that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
You see drones. That's what you're gonna get in here. Hey, I'm just chill. She's gonna be bossing.
Yeah, but the drones are like,
right, but watch Time Cop now.
But Uncle Rupee's more like the fun police, our fun Scottish mum. Now that's where it's at. Time Cop, but Uncle Rupee is the fun police.
I am not the fun police. I protest. Oh, I'm just going to build my own drones then. Fuck it, you can keep them.
He can have his own drones.
I'll have better drones. My drones will be better.
Or he can just Stockholm Syndrome the crewmates and just take those guys.
No, I don't want them. They were a bunch of twats. I don't really want to hang out. They can go off on their own dome. I'm not going to hang out with them. I'm going to build Maximilian from the black hole and just win in the robot stakes. Black hole! The black hole!
Right, next week, Time Cop. Next week, we are watching Time Cop. But Rupert, in the meantime, please tell us where we can follow you, young Rupert. Where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter, where I'm Rupert Booth. And please and thank you.
What do you want people to be shouting out about for you this week? Is there anything coming that's quite interesting?
Dark Code is the next thing coming up. That's going to be heaving over the horizon in in weeks rather than months.
Dark code. Okay.
Because of how we're shooting it. So yeah, but more on that as things go on. Things will probably start happening on Twitter to do with dark code a bit more over the next weeks or so. He said in that whole way of kind of, yeah, we can't really make plans at the moment because 2020, but this is what the plan is this week, today, this hour.
Just follow Rupert Booth on Twitter. We've got Rupert's biggest fan here saying, who do we love more, Rupert or Claire? I'm going to leave you with that question for next week when we'll have a poll. We'll have a poll next week.
Whose dome would you go to?
Whose dome would you do you want to hang out with me? I'm really fun. I've got time cop. Or do you want to go just plant stuff? I mean.
Who said I'm just doing plant stuff? I mean, you're trying to undermine me. That says you're worried.
Hey, I got drones. I'm not worried.
I've built my own drones. I've got more than just drones. I've got Maximilian from the Black Hole.
I'm not worried, man. I'm confident with my drones.
I've got a telly. I've got a telly. You haven't got a telly in yours. You didn't think of that.
No, we do, because we're watching Time Cop. We're watching Time Cop. You're
not in a dome when you're watching Time Cop. This is all in the future, when the forests are dead. Next week.
Yeah, you're right there. Anyway, with that, we got a gort. We got a gort. Let's gort. So, I will leave you with that, my lovely friends. Rupert Booth.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Get him followed. That is Rupert Booth. I am Claire Lim. Thank you very much, and we will see you again next week for Sci-Futures. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye.